Hey, welcome back to the Client Success Series. I'm Jason Valentine, the qualifying broker with Caldwell Banker High Desert Realty. And one of my goals throughout this entire series is to remove uncertainty by helping you understand what happens during the real estate transaction and why each step is important. So far, we've covered things like getting under contract, earnest money, home inspection, appraisal, and the title commitment. Today, we're going to talk about one of the most common frustrations buyers experience during the transaction, and that's why does the lender keep asking for more documents? If you found yourself thinking, I've already given them that, you're definitely not alone, and let's talk about why this happens. So for today's play, I want to understand what happens between loan application and receiving the words that everybody's looking for, which is clear to close. So why this matters? Well, buying a home is one of the largest financial transactions most people are ever going to make. And because of that, lenders have a responsibility to carefully review the loan before approving it. Their goal isn't to make the process difficult. Their goal is to verify that everything meets the lending guidelines before they commit hundreds of thousands of dollars to the purchase. And although it sometimes can feel repetitive, every document they request serves a purpose. So what is underwriting? Well, think of underwriting as the lender's final review. The underwriter looks at your income, assets, employment, credit, and the property itself to make sure everything meets the loan requirements. Sometimes that review generates additional questions. For example, they may ask for an updated bank statement or an updated paycheck stub or a letter explaining a large deposit or a verification of employment that making sure it hasn't changed. That's all completely normal. In fact, it's one of the most common parts of the entire home buying process. And so you might ask, well, why do they keep asking for documents? And this is probably the question that we hear most often. The answer is pretty simple. The real estate transaction takes, several weeks to several months to complete, and during that time, documents become outdated. A bank statement from last month may no longer be current. An employment verification might need to be updated, or the underwriter may simply need clarification on something that they noticed while reviewing your file. They're not asking necessarily because something is wrong. They're asking because they're making sure everything is accurate before finally approving the loan. So how can you help? One of the best things you can do is respond to your lender as quickly as possible. The sooner requested documents are received, the sooner the lender can continue reviewing your file. You also want to try to avoid making major financial changes while you're under contract. And so that means you don't want to open new credit accounts. Don't go and buy a car or furniture. Don't buy large purchases. Don't co-sign for anybody. And don't take large amounts of money transferring or taking it out of your account. If you're unsure whether something could affect your loan, ask first. It's always easier to prevent a problem than fix one later. So here's my advice, or Jason's advice for today's episode. Don't take lender requests personally. I know it can feel frustrating when you're asked for another document after you've already submitted them. But remember, your lender wants the transaction to close just as much as you do, and they actually don't want any more documentation than they need. They're simply making sure everything is complete before giving the final approval. And when everyone responds quickly and communicates well, this part of the process usually moves much more smoothly. So what I'll be doing is while your lender is completing the underwriting process, I'll be staying in close communication with everyone involved. I'll be checking in with the lender for the statuses, monitoring our contract deadlines, coordinating with the title company for a final closing date, and keeping the other brokerage or other parties informed. And making sure you know exactly where you are in the process. If something needs your attention, you'll hear from our office promptly. If everything is moving along as expected, I'll let you know what's going on there too. Communication doesn't just stop because things are going well. So let's see where we're at in the journey. So far, we've completed under contract, earnest money, home inspection, appraisal, title commitment, loan approval. At this point, we're entering the final stretch, and that is closing day. It's getting very, very close. So in our next episode of the Client Success Series, we're going to talk about preparing for closing day. We're going to discuss what the final walkthrough is, transferring utilities, cash to close, wire fraud awareness, what to bring to closing, and exactly what you can expect when it's finally time to sign the paperwork. It's an exciting milestone, and we'll try to make sure that you're fully prepared. So I want to thank you for watching another episode of the Client Success Series. I hope today's video helped remove one more piece of uncertainty from your real estate journey. Now remember, real estate transactions involve a whole lot of moving parts, but you don't have to navigate them all by yourself. That's what we're here for. If you have questions, don't guess, give us a call. I'd much rather spend 5 minutes answering your questions than you spend 5 hours worrying about something that turns out to be completely normal. Thank you again for trusting us to guide you through this process, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Client Success Series.